We talk sex, lies, murder.
When 2 is company, 3 is murder.
This is the epitome of it right here.
How did your life go from being a housewife to participating in a murder?
The pastor of the church having sex with another woman.
This is beyond dysfunctional.
Sex, lies, and murder. A Real Crime original podcast from Reels. New episodes Tuesdays on Apple Podcasts, Podcast One, and Spotify.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 304 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually feeling old this week. My daughter just turned 18, my youngest. So I think it's kind of one of those milestones that just makes you feel older.
Well, you are old.
Well, I am, but I feel it now.
Oh, I've always felt old.
Well, you've always been wise ahead of your years, which probably made you feel older than what you really are.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah. Doogie. So let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Chuck Lewis.
Hey, Chuck.
Moose Corn.
What's going on, Moose?
Diana Rhodes.
Hey, Diana.
Michelle Ball.
Hey, Michelle.
Rihanna Clay.
Appreciate that, Rihanna.
Lisa Michelle.
Hey, Lisa.
Atlas Azriel.
What's going on, Atlas?
Matthew Hendry.
Hey, Matthew.
Dave Souza.
Appreciate that, Dave.
Jacob Miguez.
Hey, Jacob.
Stacy Hauk jumped out at her highest level.
What's up, Stacy?
Kelly Mashford.
Hey, Kelly.
Kim Smythman.
There's Kim.
Kobe Crook.
Hey, Kobe.
Amanda Meyer.
Thank you, Amanda.
Christopher Barnett.
Hey, Christopher.
And last but not least, Kimberly Preston.
Appreciate that, Kimberly.
And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Colette Marsh.
Awesome, Colette.
Yeah, appreciate all the Patreon support we get. We also had what is probably the biggest PayPal donation we've ever had from Jana Bauernfeind.
Man, thank you so much, Bauernfeind.
We had donations from Gail Wilson.
Hey, Gail.
Jesse Kruger Automotive Repair.
There you go, Kruger Automotive.
And Mary Zaina.
Hey, Mary.
So thanks to everyone who helps support the show. So Gibbs, we probably should have mentioned it up front, but your voice has taken a hit the last couple days. It's not at its peak.
Not as smooth as honey?
No, but you'll fight through like you always do.
I'll just leave it a little raspy.
Well, people may like that. Right now on True Crime All the Time, we have an episode out on Karen McCarran, a mother, a medical professional who murdered her 3-year-old daughter who had autism.
That really frustrated me, that case did.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gruesome in the way of details. Obviously, it's tragic that a 3-year-old lost her life. The story is about why Karen did what she did, and it is very frustrating. But it's a good episode. Make sure you check that out.
For sure.
All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I am ready.
We're talking about what we're calling the unresolved disappearance of Erica Baker. This is an episode that, we've had slated for a very long time because it happened close to home.
It did.
Here in our hometown of Dayton, Ohio. And it was a big case. Something that we've known about for a very long time. The discovery of a family pet wandering alone can often be an ominous sign. But for the Baker family, the sight of their beloved dog, Jamie, dragging its leash on the street was the start of a nightmare. What began as a runaway pet quickly turned into a desperate search for Erica Baker, whose disappearance has remained a mystery for over 2 decades. Erica, a bright and vivacious 3rd grader at Indian Riffle Elementary School, disappeared in February 1999. She vanished without a trace, leaving her family and the community reeling.
I'm just thinking the moment that dog showed up, the leash dragging behind it.
without Erica.
Yeah. As a parent, you're going to freak out.
Yeah, your heart is going to sink. You're probably going to think the worst. Now, maybe not everyone would at first. You know, maybe it's, well, she got distracted. She started playing with another, kid, and she forgot, and the dog kind of ran off.
Yeah, or the dog was too strong and pulled away
from her. You could think a couple of things, but I'm sure some people would think the worst or fear the worst at the very least. The disappearance triggered a community-wide search effort with hundreds of volunteers scouring the area for any sign of the missing girl. And I remember this, man. It was all over our local news. It was the biggest story for quite a while. Despite years of investigations and searches, Erica has yet to be found, leaving her family and the community searching for answers. Erica Baker was born to Misty and Greg Baker, a small family residing in the Kettering, Dayton, Ohio area. Erica, who was born in 1990, was loved deeply by her parents and grandmother. I mentioned it, right? She attended the local Indian Riffle Elementary School, where her teachers described her as a bright and cheerful student who enjoyed playing with her classmates. Many who knew Erica described her as a friendly and outgoing child. Kim Hesse, a playroom supervisor at Erica's elementary school, spoke highly of her, telling WDTN she's the friendliest child in the world. Kim recalled how it was common to see Erica walking around and how she would always smile and wave at everyone she encountered. Tragically, Erica's life took a devastating turn on February 7th, 1999, around 3 p.m. That day, 9-year-old Erica Baker was last seen walking her dog in a Kettering neighborhood near the Kettering Rec Center. Despite her mother's initial refusal, Erica persisted in asking to take their Shih Tzu, Jamie, for a walk near the Kettering Rec. Her mother, Misty, finally gave in to her daughter's request, but not before making sure that she wore a raincoat over her Winnie the Pooh sweater to protect her from the rain.
I've been there before where my daughter or son wanted to do something. You're like, no. Okay.
Eventually, sometimes they can wear you down.
Right.
And, we've done a number of unsolved cases where I remember that a parent didn't want their child to do something or go somewhere.
Right.
But the child wore them down and eventually they gave in. Now, later on, when that child goes missing or is murdered, there is going to be a tremendous amount of guilt on the part of the parent for that action. But that's, something that a lot of us have done time and time again, right? Give in to a child's wish to let them do something. It's just that for most of us, nothing bad ever comes from it. And I always say, right, there shouldn't be this tremendous amount of guilt, but there is. And there's nothing that the person can do about it. You can tell someone 1,000,000 times, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything that millions of other parents haven't done. It's not going to matter.
It's in their head and they're not going to let go of it.
Yeah. According to WDTN.com, 2 hours later, at approximately 5 p.m., Baker's dog was found on its leash, but there was no sign of Erica. According to the authorities at the time, there was no sign of a struggle or any indication of foul play. Unfortunately, Erica never returned from that walk, and her mother has not seen her since. According to WTN.com and other reports, the search for Erica Baker began at a pond located at the Kettering Rec Center on the night of February 7th, 1999, and in an effort to find her, 36 of her friends, along with police dogs, joined the search. However, after the search, nothing was found. The Baker family decided to try to look for Erica again the next day. On February 8th, at around 8 a.m., a massive search operation was launched involving hundreds of volunteers and law enforcement officials to locate Erica Baker. And this is something that you and I talk about in many, many unsolved episodes. a child goes missing.
Right.
Their family is frantic to find them. Law enforcement is frantic to find them.
For sure.
But what you often see is a community rallying around the family and giving freely of their time and energy to help search. And, you know, I've always thought that the mentality must be, number one, this is a small child. We've got to find her. But also, if this was my child, this is what I would want. So I'm going to help, because I would hope that the community would rally around me if I was in that situation. I always think that. And deep down, I just think by and large, people are good people.
Yeah, for sure.
And the thought of a missing child, you know, it eats at them. They want to do something. If there's something that they can do to help, they want to do that. The search efforts were concentrated in the area surrounding the rec center, where the initial search had been conducted the night before. The search even extended to draining a 2.9 million gallon retention pond. Okay, that's a lot of water.
It is a lot of water.
But I get the thinking, right? She's thought to have been around this rec center. We've got this pond. We can either send divers in, which maybe you can't do in February in Dayton, or we can drain it. They made the decision to drain
it and see what they can find.
Now, obviously, she was not in that pond. The aim was to cover as much ground as possible in hopes of finding any clues that could lead to the discovery of Erica, despite the diligent efforts of the community, including hundreds of volunteers and law enforcement officers who tirelessly scoured the area. There was no success in finding any trace of Erica.
And that's a pretty populated area, too.
It is. I mean, this is not farmland that we're talking about. But I want to talk about how disappointing, how deflating this must be. Not just in this case, but in any case where a child goes missing. In the beginning, you have this kind of groundswell of support.
Sure.
You have a lot of volunteers. But when the searches don't bear anything out and time goes by, human nature is that, okay, people that got to get back to their lives.
Everybody around you goes back to their regular lives.
Yeah. And so as much as people want to help, they probably can't do it indefinitely.
Yeah.
They've got jobs, they've got, things going on, and it has to be disappointing for them, law enforcement, and especially the family.
Yeah, for sure.
Because every day you're so hopeful. We got all these people, they're helping us. Today's the day we're going to find her. And then when it doesn't happen, major letdown. During the investigation into the disappearance of young Erica Baker, a suspect was identified in the case. Christian John Gabriel, a resident of Springfield who was initially considered as a potential witness, became the prime suspect after his then girlfriend's confession. So just for reference, Springfield is a little bit north of where we are.
Yeah.
But 40 minutes, let's say.
Kind of in between Dayton and Columbus.
Yeah, but about 40 minutes away from the Dayton area.
Sure.
Give or take. According to WTN.com, Christian was brought into questioning by the authorities soon after due to statements made by Jan Franks, his girlfriend at the time. According to Jan, she and Christian were driving in a van when Christian hit and killed Erica. Jan claimed that they hid the little girl's body after the accident. It was later revealed that the couple were on drugs during the time of the incident, potentially leading to Erica's disappearance. Despite Jan's statement about Christian Gabriel's involvement in Erica Baker's disappearance, charges were not filed against them until years later. And why do you think that was, Gibbs?
Well, they had no body.
Yeah, that's true. My thought is, a confession is not enough. And I know we've talked about it. People confess to things all the time.
Sure.
But when you have nothing else to back up that confession, is it going to be enough?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you need some type of other evidence to support it.
Yeah, to support the confession, because, what's the worst thing is that you charge this guy, you take him to trial, you don't have the evidence, and he walks. And that's it.
And the flip side of that is if you do that and he wasn't the person, you spent all this time focusing on this person instead of where you probably should have been focusing.
And not only that, but if you find the real person, that person's defense attorney is going to use the fact that you charge someone else against you. And they're going to play that up to the jury. Okay, they've already charged one innocent person. They tried one innocent person. Here they go again. Tragically, Jan passed away in 2001 from a drug overdose long before Christian's case was brought before a grand jury. Jan was believed to have shared this information with her attorney, Beth Lewis, regarding Erica's disappearance. However, Beth maintained attorney-client privilege and didn't reveal any information until June 2002. Eventually, she would testify before a grand jury disclosing what she knew. But it wasn't until July 2004 that Christian John Gabriel made the shocking admission, confessing to his involvement in Erica Baker's disappearance. However, he refused to reveal where her body was located. According to the Cincinnati Enquirer, Christian gave inconsistent accounts to the police about what happened to Erica. In one version, Christian claimed that he was driving a van after committing a theft at Myers. He said his driver's license was suspended when he hit Erica near the intersection of Glengarry Drive and Powhatan Place around 4 p.m. on February 7th, 1999. He then said he fled the scene and disposed of Erica's body. It's believed that Christian's fear of being caught for the theft and driving offense likely motivated his actions, which led to Erica's disappearance. Now, in another version, Christian denied any involvement in Erica's death. However, investigators believed Christian's first version, that Erica was hit near the intersection of Glengarry Drive and Powhatan Place shortly before 4 p.m. on February 7th, as Christian was driving westbound. According to Cincinnati.com, during the trial conducted in 2005, jurors heard all versions of events that Gabriel had given to the police. True Crime All the Time Unsolved is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yep, while you're listening to Gibby and I talk, you're probably also driving, cleaning, exercising, or maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you can be doing right now. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. It's easy, and you could save money by doing it right from your phone. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $700 on average. And auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. So just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year. So you're protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 29 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, national average 12-month savings of $698 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2021 and May 2022. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations. You know, my wife and I struggle to figure out what's for dinner. But for over a year now, we've been eating Factor every week. Power up for springtime with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Get nutritious, chef-prepared meals delivered straight to your door, leaving you time and energy to tackle everything on your to-do list. Want to look better in time for warmer weather? Well, they have calorie smart meals that are around 550 calories or less. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just under 2 minutes. So all you have to do is heat and enjoy. And these meals are delicious. We have never had a bad Factor. They're all amazing. They have 34 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved weekly options. So there's always something new to try. Get Factor and enjoy clean eating without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door. Ready in just 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/TCAT50 and use code TCAT50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code TCAT50 at factormeals.com/TCAT50 to get 50% off your first box. Angie's List is now Angie, and they've made it easier than ever to get all of your home projects done right. I've been using Angie for a long time now. You know, over the years, we've had a number of projects that needed to be done around the house. Some of them, let's face it, a lot of them, I just wasn't qualified to do. But how do you find the right person? And how do you know that that person is trustworthy and has a good reputation? Well, that's where Angie comes in. Angie has over 20 years of home service experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Just bring them your project online or with the Angie app, answer a few questions, and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you see ratings and reviews, compare quotes from local pros, and connect instantly, which means you can cross things off your to-do list in just a few taps. Because whether it's routine maintenance or a dream remodel, Angie is there to make it easy. So get your next project done with the help of a pro from Angie. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com. Prosecutors presented a videotaped interview with Christian where he admitted to police that he was a passenger in a van that hit and killed 9-year-old Erica as she walked her dog on that rainy Sunday afternoon in February of 1999.
So now he's a passenger.
Well, and that's where we said, right? He gave a number of versions of what happened that day. And in these different versions, it seems as though his culpability is different, right? His level of involvement is different. He's driving. He's a passenger. He didn't have anything to do with it at all. You know, kind of all over the place. Now, I don't know why the videotaped interview is this version. Maybe they didn't videotape the other ones. I don't know. But this is what prosecutors presented. According to Cincinnati.com, Christian Gabriel provided details about Erica's death and the whereabouts of her body, which is yet to be found, in a videotaped interview played during his trial. He said, "We were going down the street and heard a thud and got out of the van, and someone was lying in the street. When asked how he knew Erica was walking her dog at the time of the accident, he replied, 'Because I saw the dog.' He went on to reveal that he and 3 others in the van had been partying. He said, 'I was drunk. I had a buzz. I really didn't see nothing until I heard the thud.' Further information was disclosed when Christian admitted that he and his friends put Erica in the back of the van and drove her to his apartment after the accident. They discussed taking her to the hospital, but instead drove to a park. Christian claimed that he stayed in the van while the others disposed of Erica's body, stating, 'They said they just laid it somewhere.' However, he didn't remember the name or the location of the park."
I hate that part where he says they discussed taking her to the hospital. It makes me feel like maybe she was still alive when they say something like that.
Oh, I think you're on the right track. Why would you be having a discussion about taking someone to the hospital if you knew they were dead?
Right.
And so, you know, there is a feeling, a sick feeling, I think that you get when you think that that could have occurred. But I want to go back to, you know, this guy's different versions, right? So now we're on the, he's a passenger version. And if you think about it, so he says he's not driving. He's drunk. He's got a buzz, and he never gets out of the van. It's the other guys that he's with that dispose of the body.
That's a good way to keep yourself from getting in too much trouble.
That's what it sounds like, right? And this is an avenue that you and I go down on True Crime All the Time quite a bit. When killers reveal information, more often than not, it seems like there's a bend to it. There's a twist where I'm giving you something. I'm giving you a nugget, but at the same time, I'm pulling myself out of it a little bit. I'm softening my part in it. We see that time and time again. But one thing that really jumped out at me about this is that he says, his friend said that they just laid her somewhere. Well, if that's the case, a body in a park, you would think, would be found fairly quickly. And at the very least, it's going to be found at some point.
Yeah, if you just laid her on top of the ground, in the open, or made little effort to hide the body, you think it would have been found.
So the fact that she's never been found doesn't lend a lot of credibility to this story. It just doesn't. And I think prosecutors felt the same way. They argued that Christian was not entirely truthful in his confession. They alleged that he was actually driving the van that struck Erica and that he was the one who buried her body. Now, his defense attorney claimed that this confession was made under duress, citing pressure from the police. And let's talk about that word pressure. I don't know that there's anything wrong inherently with the word pressure. If I'm saying, I know you did it, tell me what happened. Okay, I'm pressuring you to a degree to be truthful, to come out and spill. Now, if pressure is beating someone with a rubber hose, that's different.
Well, for sure.
That's a completely different scenario. But
certain elements of pressure.
Yeah, I think police do cross the line. We've seen that. We know that.
They have, yep.
It just all comes down to what is meant by pressure. According to the Dayton Daily News, a witness named Carol Strine came forward during the trial and testified that she saw Erica walking her dog on the day of her disappearance. She also mentioned that she saw the dog alone later on. Carol said, I was still feeling good about finding the lost dog, but then the news came on and it was showing the Kettering Recreation Center and the missing little girl. My husband looked at me and I looked at him and we called the police right away.
Definitely a sad day when they could put the two together, right? They see it on the news. They're thinking, we saw that girl and that dog, and we saw the dog by itself later. Oh my gosh, that's her.
Yeah, but it's interesting how she frames it. They were actually feeling good that like they had done a good thing. They found the dog.
Yeah.
Only to later find out what the real tragedy was.
Yes.
And
it wasn't the dog. It was.
So it really kind of puts it in perspective. Eventually, Christian John Gabriel was found guilty by a jury in October 2005 of gross abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence in relation to Erica Baker's disappearance. The jury deliberated for 3 hours before returning the verdict. Gabriel was sentenced to 6 years in prison and reportedly cussed as he was taken away by the authorities.
Well, he admitted in one of his confessions that he picked up the body and took it to a park and disposed of it. And I'm assuming that's all the jury needed to hear for at least this charge.
Yeah, and I think you have to ask the question, where are these 3 other people who were supposedly in the van? And according to him, were the ones who actually took Erica's body out and disposed of it. So you're telling me that you're on trial and you could probably make a deal for little to no time by giving up these people and you say, nah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Could it happen? Sure. Could it also be that these 3 people don't exist? Sure. I think, you got to look at it from a number of different ways.
Right.
At the time of Christian's trial, Erica's family had come to terms with the fact that she was no longer alive, but the lack of a body made it difficult for them to find closure. Despite Erica's father, Greg Baker's plea for Christian to reveal the location of his daughter's remains, Christian maintained that he had no knowledge of it. Some, including the Cincinnati Enquirer, speculated that Christian's refusal may be due to the fact that there is no statute of limitations on murder charges.
Absolutely. Why would he want to disclose where the body is if he knows that it would cause him to spend more time in jail?
Well, and that was my thought exactly. Where's the benefit in him disclosing this information? To me, there seems to be only a really big downside, a possible downside. Now, you hate it because you have this family who desperately wants to honor their daughter, bury their daughter, have some place to go to talk to her.
Right.
But if you're this guy, what's the motive for giving that information up and possibly putting yourself into even more jeopardy?
There isn't. That's where you kind of wish there was something in the system where the families get together with the prosecutor and say, listen, if you don't feel like you're ever going to figure out where her body is, can we just go ahead and do a deal with him that he serves no time as long as he tells us where the body is?
No additional time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that.
I get you. And maybe there was some backroom dealings like that and he turned them down. We just don't know. The one thing I will say is there is a very big difference between 6 years for abuse of a corpse and a possible murder conviction and sentence.
Oh, yeah.
On June 23rd, 2011, Christian John Gabriel was released from prison. In a bizarre turn of events, Erica's grandmother, Pam Schmidt, picked Christian up after his release from prison. She then took him out to a restaurant, hoping to get information about Erica's disappearance.
I remember this making the news at that time. And, the chatter was people could not believe
that she would do this.
That she would do that.
Yeah, I mean, what most of the reporting talked about was how Pam hoped that by talking to him personally, he would open up and confess to her about Erica's whereabouts. The problem is he didn't. Pam really didn't get any information out of him. But I don't think it was a bad ploy.
I don't think so either. I think she had some
moxie.
Yeah.
I think so as well, because it must have been really hard to sit across the table from this individual who she probably believed killed Erica.
Yeah.
But that's how desperate she was to try to get any information.
Sure, yeah.
About where her body was. According to the Dayton Daily News, Misty Baker said that her mom, Pam, said that Christian's mind went blank when it came to Erica. He said he was very sorry for what happened that night, but unfortunately, he doesn't remember. According to him, he was too high to remember where they put her. The Baker family had heard repeatedly that drugs were involved in Erica's disappearance, but they found it hard to believe that someone could be so heavily under the influence that they wouldn't help a child in need.
Yeah, I think it's disappointing when you hear some of those accounts. I mean, if she needed to go to hospital, why wouldn't you have taken her to the hospital? It would have been the right thing to do.
Oh, obviously it would have been the right thing to do, but are you then setting yourself up to get caught? Even if you drop this child off out front, do you get caught by video surveillance?
Possible.
Now my thing is, you're so high that you don't remember where the van went to, this park, this location.
Right.
I get it. Some people get plastered out of their mind, but I don't know. Seems hard to believe.
But you could.
I don't know. It just seems convenient that he says he was too high to remember.
But yet, there's some facts he can remember.
Yeah, it's almost seems like selective memory. Right. You're either plastered or you're picking and choosing what you want to disclose, because to disclose some of the things would, put you at risk.
I mean, if you drink a lot of alcohol, I can kind of buy into that a little bit more than the because I was so high.
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest with you, that one is kind of hard to believe. Not that either you or I would know or have any experience with that at all.
Correct.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. For sure. I'll go along with that. Whatever you say.
Pam Schmidt, Erica's grandmother, expressed her confusion and disbelief, wondering how much drugs one would have to consume to ignore an innocent child who needed help. The family struggled to come to terms with the idea that drugs could have played a role in Erica's disappearance and ultimate death. And I think you and I are kind of struggling with it as well. Now, I'm not thinking so much that it was drugs that led them not to help an innocent child. To me, it was more likely the fear of getting caught for doing the other stuff that they had been doing,
right,
and hitting the child while under the influence. Not that drugs made them not want to help her. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I got you.
It's more a preservation of them that made them not only not want to help her, but probably hurt her.
Right.
After his release, public records indicate that Christian relocated to Florida. Over the years since Erica's disappearance in 1999, the Baker family and law enforcement authorities have made extensive and persistent attempts to uncover the little girl's body. According to his confession letter, Christian told detectives that he buried Erica at Huffman Dam, a local park located about 10 miles north of Kettering. But that area has been searched numerous times over the years, and Erica's remains have never been found. However, there is some discrepancy in Christian's statement, as he mentioned driving south, not north, when he left the scene. So if that is true, he wouldn't have been headed towards Huffman Dam.
He would not have.
I think one of the big problems in this case is over the years, Christian has provided investigators with several potential locations where Erica's body might be, and those areas have been searched thoroughly, but nothing has been found. So, what do you make of that? Is this a person whose memory is hazy, and one day they think it's here, and another day they remember that it might be here? Or is this a person that's playing with the police and just sending them out on wild goose chases?
I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. Why would you make assumptions that it could be over here, it could be over there? If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, unless he's playing with them. Now, if you're the police, you have to take it seriously.
Absolutely.
You have to go search. It wouldn't be the first time that someone reveled in messing with the police.
Right, yeah.
We see it, a lot. In September 2013, authorities received a tip suggesting that Erica's remains might be located in a pond at a trailer park on private property. As a result, a dive team was dispatched to search the pond, but this search didn't yield any conclusive evidence. And we mentioned it, right? Her body has never been found, despite, all of these searches over the years. Although Erica is presumed dead, authorities have vowed to continue their efforts to locate the remains of Erica Baker. I mean, it has been a very long time. Gibbs, we said 1999, 23 years. Hard to think that this girl, who was 9 years old at the time, would have just disappeared and is alive somewhere. Hard to believe that. In 2022, authorities and volunteers received another tip from Dayton 24/7 Now regarding Erica's possible whereabouts. The Dayton 24/7 Now podcast team had another look into Christian's confession letter. They managed to identify 2 parks that matched his descriptions. So the team approached the retired Kettering detective Bob Green with their findings. The detective revealed that he had the same thought about those parks over the years and had already searched one of them. Bob agreed that it was time to search the other location. He said it was a tip after the podcast that you guys brought to our attention. It was a very interesting tip. It warranted enough information that we needed to be out here so, it feels good. But I've done this so many times that I've kind of put a shield to check myself and my emotions. So for me, it's another place we have to check that box.
And I think I get that. You think it's going to be at this place. You get excited. It fizzes out. Then you hear about this possible location. You go over here thinking, okay, this is going to be where we're going to finally find her. Nope. Then you got to go over to another place. I think you get to the point where you don't even want to get excited about any tip that comes in.
Well, I think he's saying, I had to put a wall up, and I understand that. You're using the word excited. I get that because you think this is going to be the day.
Yeah.
This is going to be the place. This is going to be the day. We've been searching for so long, but at a certain point, you got to be guarded because that big of a letdown time after time could be kind of soul crushing, I would think.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
So optimistic, yes, but putting everything into it, I think would be very hard to do time and time again. Kind of like he said, check yourself. All right, we're going to go. We're going to look for her, but I'm not going to get my hopes up to the point where if we don't find her, I'm not going to be able to sleep for the next 2 weeks. And this is the thing that kind of comes with a lot of the unsolved cases. These detectives, these law enforcement officers, they get so invested in some of these cases, they can't let them go. I imagine, especially early on in the first couple of years, it's hard to kind of turn their minds off when they get home.
Probably 24/7, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be very tough for them to the point where this guy's retired and he still wants to find her. He still's checking leads.
Yeah, I'm sure there's not a day that goes by that he doesn't give a thought about the case.
So before embarking on the search, approximately 12 volunteers from Texas EquiSearch Midwest equipped themselves with the necessary tools.
It's a big search company.
Yeah, they're pretty famous, right? In the world of true crime. Started in Texas by a man who I believe lost a child. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they provided assistance in so many missing persons cases, and they've actually made quite a few recoveries. Before the search, the organization's director, Dave Rader, researched the location using Google Earth. He was trying to figure out what the area looked like in 1999 and discovered that it was just as heavily wooded then as it is today. In preparation, he printed old and current maps to provide assistance to the team. The search tools used by the Texas EquiSearch volunteers were relatively simple. They had a shovel and metal rods resembling canes that enabled them to detect air pockets beneath the topsoil. After 30 minutes of searching, the team made a significant discovery: bones wrapped in a child's sheet.
So I'm guessing that was promising.
Well, I think at the very least, they had to be extremely hopeful. After the discovery, the State Bureau of Criminal Investigation and the Greene County Coroner's Office were called in to examine the bones. However, after several hours of examination, they determined that the bones actually belonged to a dog. So, we talked about letdowns. Here's another one. If the family hears this, they have to be both fearful and hopeful at the same time.
Sure.
You're fearful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Nobody wants to discover that their child is dead, but at the same time, they're hopeful to find her, to bring her home, to bury her, like I said. According to local news sources, Bob Green commented on the disappointing turn of events, saying, "After so many searches, it's just another area that we've cleared." That's the way you have to look at it, especially after all these years.
I mean, it's a valid point. It's another box you check on the list, right?
A few weeks after this search, dog handlers from Kentucky, along with specially trained canines, returned to that same location with hopes of uncovering a clue to Erica's location. The dogs brought to the scene were specifically trained to locate human remains and had extensive experience in recovering human bodies successfully, dating all the way back to the 1800s. Additionally, they were trained to differentiate between human and animal remains. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I find this fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
I've been watching some British shows lately. They call them sniffer dogs.
Yeah.
On the British shows. But the fact that you can train a dog to search out these very specific smells, human remains, animal remains, bombs, cocaine, you name it. It just fascinates me.
I remember I got to meet some of these dogs at a crime con a few years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. It was noted that the canines detected 2 different locations in the park, with one spot drawing their interest, and eventually all 3 dogs gathered in the same area, which was located near a creek and a tree. Unfortunately, despite the extensive search of the 3 locations, no body was recovered within the area. The search for Erica Baker has been ongoing for over 2 decades, and though there have been some promising leads and possible sightings, as we've mentioned, right, the case remains unsolved. Erica's family and the community continue to hold out hope that her body will be discovered and justice will be served one day. In 2013, the Kettering police team and the Baker family publicly expressed their concerns that Erica may have survived the hit and run accident that was previously thought to have caused her death. Misty said to WHIO News that she feared that Erica may have survived the accident, but was buried alive somewhere by Christian. According to Bob Green, Christian Gabriel had never led detectives to her body. Despite multiple attempts to locate her remains, he said, "I think he remembers where she is, but he doesn't want us to find her because that could lead to more charges." And that's exactly what we talked about earlier. If he knows where her body is, Christian Gabriel has a vested interest in not disclosing that information to the police.
For sure. It just means more jail time.
Well, and it could mean forever jail time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, forever.
And he's already done, what?
6
years. My assumption is he doesn't want to go back. And I'm certain he doesn't want to go back for the rest of his life or possibly face the death penalty. According to WDTN.com, Bob Green provided insight into the investigation for Erica Baker, describing it as a roller coaster due to the numerous search efforts that have failed to produce any results. He said the Kettering Police Department has done a lot. We've ran into a lot of what I refer to as walls, and we've always scaled those walls and we've stuck with it. So I don't think there's any doubt, Gibbs, that over the years, they've remained committed to trying to locate Erica or Erica's remains,
right?
Whatever may be. WDTN.com also reported that Greg Baker said, "The not knowing, that's what drives our family, drives me to keep coming in front of the camera every year and always looking for different ways to reach out to different people." And that surfaces in a lot of unsolved cases.
It does.
The not knowing would be so very difficult. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Now we're 23 years on. And the family still has basically no answers. They got a little win, and I call it little,
right,
in this 6-year prison term for this guy that is thought to be implicated in this case, but it wasn't for anything having to do with really her death, her disappearance.
Yeah, I mean, they just want their little girl's body back.
Yeah, at this point, absolutely. According to WHIO.com, Kettering police detectives have built a great working relationship with EquiSearch Midwest, who also continue to look for Erica. Detective Bob Green provided a public message for those that may currently be in contact with Christian or know something about the disappearance of the girl. He told WDTN, "Come forward. If you know Christian Gabriel, talk to him. Tell him to come forward and give the family the peace that they need. And I get that. That makes a lot of sense. But again, I go back to, why would he want to do that? It's not in his best interest.
I'm sure an attorney or two has told him, don't say anything.
Stay out of the limelight. Don't say anything. Don't talk to anybody. You know, my assumption has always been that, you know, people who do really bad things, are capable of doing really bad things, don't have the thought that many of us do that runs through our head that says, we need to do the right thing.
Right.
I think a lot of those types of people don't have that. To them, the self-preservation outweighs that by a mile.
Oh, yeah.
And in some cases, I think for some of those people, that's all they care about is their own hide. They're not worried about what the family needs or doing the right thing or, you know, giving anybody answers or closure or anything like that.
No, you're right. It's self-preservation.
The director of EquiSearch Midwest, Dave Rader, requested to the Dayton public that they reach out to authorities even 24 years after the disappearance of Erica Baker if they have any information. According to WDTN, David said, someone had to have seen something. We want to make sure all of our bases are covered through the investigation. If you think you have something pertinent to the investigation, reach out to law enforcement.
Well, you know, we've talked about this before. You've said it many times. It just takes that one piece of information that sometimes can connect the dots.
Well, and I always believe that there is someone out there who knows something. Number one, you've got the perpetrator. So if they're still alive, they obviously know the entire story. But I usually think there's somebody else, at least one person, that this person confided in, slipped up and told. This person overheard them talk, you know, however they found out. And for whatever reason, maybe they want to protect this person. They've just chosen never to come forward, or they're afraid of, you know, retaliation or something like that. I always believe that somebody else knows.
Right.
In this case, there could be more than, if there was really 4 people in the van, then there's 3 other people that know.
That's right. Somebody could come forward. Or maybe somebody remembers a van being parked at some park that day, and maybe that's the location.
I'm still leery about these 3 other supposed individuals.
Right.
Because they've never surfaced. Nobody's ever linked. You don't even have a name.
Yeah. At least we know Jan was in the van.
Yeah.
You know, but of course she's no longer around.
Right. She can't tell her story. She died many, many years ago. While the search for Erica may have reached a standstill, it's important to remember her and to honor her memory. Her family and community have continued to hold vigils and commemorate her life, showing that even in the face of tragedy, her legacy will never be forgotten. And that's something that you and I, have seen firsthand. It seems like every year there is a news story on Erica Baker.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they're holding a vigil, or, it's an anniversary of sorts, whatever it is. Every now and then it pops up on the news. She has not been forgotten. That much I know.
It's one of the bigger stories in this area.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I don't think that they're ever going to stop searching for answers into her disappearance, where her remains are. I also think that this story, it serves as a reminder, as do many, of the need for continued efforts to keep children safe and to really just never forget those who have gone missing. I think it's extremely important. And for me, the unsolved episodes kind of serve a couple of purposes. Number one, to get the information out there.
Right.
You never know who's going to hear the story and it's going to jog a memory, or it's going to make them think that now's the time to come forward with information they have. And then number two is always kind of honoring the victim.
Yeah.
And telling their story as much as you can, talking about them and all that. All of it's important. But that's it for our episode on Erica Baker. We got some voicemails, Gibbs. You want to check those out?
Let's hear them.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. My name is Neil. I'm from Austin, Texas. I've been listening to you guys for a long time. I'm mostly a true crime all the time. Not as much unsolved guy, but I just finished listening to the Jack the Ripper episodes, and I am just waiting for my I Need More Evidence Than a Bum Tallywhacker t-shirt. And you got to get that out. You got to do it. I love you guys. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your own time ticking.
Yeah, the bum tallywhacker shirt. That'd be a bestseller, maybe.
Bum tallywhacker.
You never know.
Let's do it.
I had to pause while listening to the South Pole poisoning episode because I was laughing so hard. I was literally crying. I couldn't sit up. My stomach still hurts. Gibby is killing me in this episode. And when you said, like, you may have smelt it, and he said that I have not dealt it, and then you just kept going, I mean, I'm dying. Gibby, I love you. God, we got to have a beer sometime.
It didn't even faze you.
No, but, I think that's part of our humor is we're not laughing about it. We're seeing if other people recognize kind of what we're saying.
Right.
And they do, and then they find it funny. But I'm not making a big deal out of it because I want them to kind of recognize. And some people will and some people won't. It just depends.
Yeah, sometimes I say things, I'm like, I have to look at you. Like, did you just...
Yeah. Because you sometimes I think you're expecting me to come back at you with something.
I do, yeah.
But I just roll on.
It's just how cool you are.
Well, you change it up. And then sometimes I feel like I don't want to step on it. If I say something else, I'll be stepping on what you just said, which to me was really funny.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it, step on it
Golden
like that.
Jerry.
It's already golden.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. My name's Jenny. I was calling because I literally had to pause the South Pole episode because I finally knew a movie Gibby was talking about. The sled dog movie. It's called 8 Below. It's a great movie. I'd highly recommend it. But I just had to say that because I was so excited. I never know any of the movies he references, but I got that one. So I love the show. So stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Wait, did she just say she never knows?
No, nobody ever knows.
What?
Because I'm the only one that is somehow connected to you.
My clues are so awesome.
Now, I have actually seen 8 Below.
Yeah.
Isn't that the one with Cuba Gooding Jr.? Or am I thinking of a different movie?
I think it is. Or it's the other guy. Some other guy.
It's the other guy. Well, you don't give me any actors. You say, sleigh dogs. First of all, you didn't even say sled dogs. You said sleigh dogs. And it just threw me off.
Which is also a sled.
Yeah.
But I
That's
don't know.
true. Yeah, you're probably right.
There's some guy. I don't know who he is. I think it might have, maybe it is.
I think it might be Cuba Gooding Jr. Now people are going to write in and say,
how wouldn't you know
it
that?
is or it isn't? Because I think I've seen that movie.
Because he's in a movie where he inherits his, it's not him. He's in a movie where he inherits his aunt's dogs, and he has to take him on that famous race.
Oh, but it is a sled dog movie.
It is a sled dog
Okay,
movie.
it's just not that one.
No, this is a different guy.
Okay. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. I'll watch it.
It's good.
Eventually, I watch all the movies except for the Incredible Mr. Limpet.
You're going to wait.
I refuse to watch that movie.
I'm going to hijack your network and make sure it's on all TVs.
All right, buddy. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
All month long on Pluto TV, stream the biggest Tyler Perry movies free. Watch your favorites like Medea's Witness Protection and Medea's Big Happy Family. Join Tyler Perry as he goes on a couples retreat with Sharon Leal in Why Did I Get Married? Or Idris Elba and Gabrielle Union in the Tyler Perry directed film Daddy's Little Girls. Plus, Pluto TV has hundreds of channels with thousands more movies and TV shows. Available on live and on demand. Download the free Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices and start streaming now. Pluto TV. Drop in, watch free.
How much is an hour of your time worth? Whether you're a realtor, lawyer, accountant, or even a content creator, Stamps.com gives you the ability to focus your time on what you do best, not on tedious mailing and shipping tasks. Print stamps, shipping labels, or certified mail forms in seconds. More than 4 million customers have relied on Stamps.com to make their lives easier. Go to Stamps.com/audio for a special offer. No contract, cancel anytime. That's Stamps.com/audio.